Hello, Nick Sinclair. Welcome to the Cloud Stories podcast, brought to you live from the Go Cardless Accountex Buzz Lab.
Thanks for having me, Heather. Excited to be here.
Thank you so much. It's really exciting to have you here at the Buzz Labs. A lot happening at Accountex at the moment, but let's get started for the people who are here and people who are listening into the podcast. Who are you and where are you from?
Great question. Nick Sinclair, founder of TOA Global and AB² Institute. So I ran an accounting financial planning practice for 12 years and then morphed into now providing talent to accounting firms.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing that. So Nick and I have known each other for a long time, and what we're going to talk about today is we're going to explore industry trends and talk about how they can, how accountants and bookkeepers can leverage them. So I'm here with the topics, and I'm going to throw them out to you. So first one, the biggest buzzword of the year, 2023, ChatGPT. What are your thoughts on ChatGPT?
Look, it's an interesting one. I saw the latest version 4 actually did a tax return. They used that as their example for ChatGPT 4. So, look, I definitely think it's going to be interesting. I think that it will bring a lot of efficiency into businesses. I know across our business, across many areas of it, we're actually using it to do a lot of the heavy lifting, the research and the sentiment. So, yeah, I think it will be a natural cause. It'll just be built into the tech. We won't actually know it.
Absolutely.
So I think in the future you'll be using Google and be using the AI. You just won't know it. So yeah, I think everyone's got a little bit too much flavour of it, but yeah, it's definitely got value.
So as a micro practice, I have it sitting on my desktop all day, every day as a virtual assistant. And I talk to it and it comes back and says, I'm a robot. I don't have feelings. I don't care what music you're listening to. But it does help me rewrite letters, putting in empathetic and kind tones in them and flowering them up when they need to be flowered up.
Yeah. There is one that's also, I saw it last week, it's a video-based one. So we're looking at using that for things like help desk. We've got articles, but it will actually put it into a video and you choose the person that you want to be speaking it. So now you can take an article and turn it into a video, and it's all done by AI. You don't need to do anything. So I think this tech's going to continue to evolve and it will be helpful. So imagine being able to explain a tax return.
Yeah.
By just basically going, here's the script, read it, create the video.
Extremely powerful. And if that is the case, you imagine accountants could actually buy that platform or subscribe to that platform and provide those general level help through something integrated with ChatGPT. So let's moving on and very much still in the vein of ChatGPT. 2023 is all about embracing innovation, automation, AI and technology. Look, it has been coming for a while, but this year I think a lot more people are open to it. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, I think it's becoming more reality now. So there's been talk about it for 4 or 5 years, particularly around AI and predictive analysis. And one thing that we've been able to do with our data science team is now predict attrition. So we've got 3,500 team members. We ran a model and it was 95% accurate of the people that we were going to resign. So I think AI is going to be used more and more on, like I call that a simple business case. So we're going to start to see more examples of it in real life. So when they brought it out, it was just a big word that's going to take jobs away. But now it's the practicalities of how is it actually going to help us? What value is it going to bring? And yeah, I love it. I think there's so many different elements of it that will really come into play and be beneficial, but we probably won't know it's AI.
Yeah.
We just think it's the tech.
It is, and you do need to sometimes in the systems actually turn it on and allow it to actually work and lean into it and see how it can help you, because it does need to learn how you work and how you operate.
It does. We had to turn it off in our CRM because our American clients have a very straight tone, and it was basically flagging it every time saying the customer's angry, the customer's angry. It's like, no, this is just how they talk. They're New Yorkers. So it's like, they're just abrupt. It's just how their language is. So you do have to train it to be effective.
Now I want to go back into ChatGPT and get letters rewritten in a New York tone. So one of the things that is happening that is in the industry, in the accounting and bookkeeping industry, there's an absolute oversupply of clients. And it always surprises me that you have people who are out there saying, we can help you market to find more clients, but there's an oversupply of clients. There's too many of them. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that firms are not good at working out who they actually want to work with. Like, this isn't a new problem. There's always been an oversupply, but I think firms are getting worse in some ways around actually choosing who they want to serve. And I think in other ways, firms are actually getting better. So because they're going, no, I'm only going to deal with these two verticals or niches, we're going to get rid of all of our other clients. Suddenly those clients are what I call orphans. They've got to find a home. So that's where this supply is. And businesses that aren't clear on what they want, take it all, and then at some point they mature and go, yeah, we can't be everything to everyone.
Yeah.
So I think the oversupply is more around firms are now getting their house in order in choosing who they serve the best and how they serve them.
Yeah.
And then they're basically going, find another home to the rest of them.
And to that vein, I'm hearing a lot of people saying, I've sold part of my book off. I've sold part of my book off because they've identified the clients that perhaps are not aligning to the avatar that they've defined and refined, and it's no longer suited to their business purpose.
Yeah, well, they can't serve them in the best way, so why would you try to? So if you can't give them the best value, let them go to an accountant that can, because you serve different clients in a different way.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're starting to mature more as businesses, as opposed to great technicians running technical businesses.
Yes, yeah. I always think that I can tell that a business has reached a certain level of maturity when it can say no to the new client coming along.
Yeah,
so with the oversupply of clients, there's an undersupply of talent in the industry, which somewhat you are tackling through the Institute, which you've launched.
Yeah, so I mean, this is, again, it's not a new problem. It's been a problem for a long time that really got exposed during the pandemic. Immigration propped up the industries in many countries around the world. There's been a declining number of people going into accounting because it's not sexy. It looks like it's a lot of hours. The industry's not done a great job at saying how wonderful and impactful the job is, that we're basically saying how crap it is. How many hours you got to work, and all the bad stuff as opposed to the good stuff that we do. So I think that that's contributed to it. So I think you've got declining numbers going into education, you've got no immigration coming into the country, and good people can choose where they want to work.
Yeah,
absolutely. So anyone that's on the job market is generally a bit of a worry, because if they're good enough, they could choose where they go and they got multiple offers. So.
Yeah, no, a very interesting perspective. So one of the things that really excites me is there is more acceptance and there's more evolution of the requirement of diversified skill sets and the acceptance of microlearning.
Yeah, well, learning's evolved significantly. I mean, we've just launched this week a tax breaks product, so we've been wanting to build a Netflix of tax for years, and we've got over 150 hours now in it, and I think that they're 3 to 7 minute videos, and they're on specific topics. So people learn in different ways. Like I can't read something, I don't retain it, I need to watch something. But some people do read it as opposed to watching. So I think it's about how do you prescribe the learning that someone needs to be successful. And I think ultimately it's about maximising human performance, and how do we take someone from where they are in their career to where they want to go. And ultimately, how does that benefit us as a business? So I think that that's where firms need to start focusing on more, is how do I educate my team member so that they're a better version this time next year, as opposed to just hoping to get more out of them and giving them nothing in return.
Yeah, absolutely. And as someone who is very degree and professional membership qualified, I really wish that I'd been enabled a quilt of microlearning that I could have tapped into that was relevant to me, rather than the structured 3-4 year program that had realistically very little options and diversification available to it.
Yeah, well, I think the problem with a lot of learning is that if you look at firms, they bring in someone to do tax training, and it's great for the juniors and it's useless for the partners, or it's great for the partners and no one else understands what they're talking about. So it needs to be personalised and individualised. And I think if you look at the stats on everything to do with learning, learning is one of the top 2 things for retention. Because people want to advance their careers, but unless you're growing and developing them, they're not going to. So it now needs to be, how do we give them the right type of content, not just put them into training because the firm does training.
Yeah.
It's how do we give them the right type of skills to advance their career.
Very, very insightful, and that is interesting, that stat that you say it's number 2 in terms of retaining people is the qualification, is the learning that you can offer them. So that's interesting. So the big question that we keep watching the news for, that seems to be forever happening, inflation and interest rate rises, and I think even they've predicted there's going to be gas price rises as well. So how do you see that playing out?
I don't get into economics too much, is probably my first clear response. I feel it when I'm travelling around the world. We've got offices in 6 countries, so we feel the effect of inflation. We've been here before. It's not the first time. I think the thing that, and this is probably my old financial planning days talking, it's people don't look into the future enough and they forget about the past. You know, these will be tough times, but these times, in my opinion, are opportunity.
Yeah.
This is where the people that have got good businesses go well and ones that don't struggle, and it's an opportunity to really grow and develop. So I think for me it's about, yes, you need to be mindful of cash flow. Ultimately, our clients need accountants more because inflation that will affect businesses, but it's not going to be detrimental if people have planned for things properly.
Yeah, and I think to your point, as the accountants and the bookkeepers, you can get access a sort of content about inflation to provide that education onto your clients and community and talk to them about cash flow. And we're in the Go Cardless Buzz Labs, so I'll mention that you could look at implementing a solution like Go Cardless for collecting money in to help minimise the bruising of inflation as it's coming along there.
Well, I think the point to that is that you've got to actually be mindful of cash flow now. Through the pandemic, a significant amount of businesses had a lot of what I call upwind. So they did really, really well during the period. I mean, accounting firms were never busier.
Yeah.
So that means they're generally making more money, which means you generally don't need to collect as quick. But when markets tighten and money becomes tougher,
yeah,
you need to be. So I think the focus on collecting money, the focus on, you know, making sure that your cash flow is strong is so critical, because otherwise it just becomes, you know, an ongoing battle and challenge and a diversion of your focus.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of key structures, key things that you can put in place. And we're here at Accountex, and there's a lot of apps here who will try and help you in that way. So, exciting topic, practice transformation. What do you see, if you were to build a practice today, how would you build it?
That's a great question. I think you've got to get your people structure right. So I think that it's the mix of onshore, offshore, and then freelancers. I see a big need for freelancers in the future, probably for about 10% of staff augmentation. I would definitely set it up with the right tech and tools. I think that, you know, I always relay things back to a professional sporting team. They have great facilities, they have great systems and structures and process to be successful. When I look at a lot of accounting firms or bookkeeping firms, they're too busy being busy to not set it up as a business. So for me, I would just implement the right technology. I would then implement the right people structure and then basically have very clear plans of success. I think that now's a great time to get into the industry. It's probably never been easier. I remember, 15 years ago when I was in financial planning, it was, to become an accountant, it was like a 12-year career path. Now you can just computer, laptop, free Wi-Fi at the coffee shop and you're away.
Yeah.
So I think, but that's also the danger, because you've got a lot of people that have got no idea how to run a business, that are potentially great technicians but not great business people.
Yeah.
And I think that's the challenge.
And especially, I don't necessarily think any of the membership associations, and some may to an extent, provide them training in actually running a business. They provide them training in the structural processes, and the ethics and integrity piece, but the actual entrepreneurial side of running a business. People may disagree with me, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, being a business owner is very different to being a technician, and I think that some people are great technicians and they're not fit for being an owner, but it doesn't mean you can't own a firm. And I think that's where we're seeing the evolution of a lot of practices put in general managers or CEOs or people to run the business as a business, because if we're holding ourselves accountable, we can hold ourselves to account so much, but we'll always make excuses.
Yeah.
You know, oh, Heather, you know, you didn't charge that client because they're a good friend of your friend's friend, you know, and you're doing the right thing by the family. It's like, yeah, no, you've still got to make money. You're a commercial business.
Yeah, yeah.
You've got to pay bills too. So I think that's where firms are evolving, is really set it up like a business to start with. Don't set it up as a great technician business.
So I was speaking to a gentleman at the ATO recently, and he said that we have an influx of cyber criminals and data security issues, and he said the number one target in Australia at the moment is cyber criminals trying to access BAS and tax agent portals, which is a massive concern because they can access a massive number of people very quickly and do a lot of damage very quickly. What are your thoughts on cybersecurity and data protection?
Yeah, look, we've got a team. We've got 2 or 3 people on our team that, you know, are focused purely on this area. So I think it's becoming more and more. I think the scary thing is that a lot of firm owners, they're not big enough to have IT people and they don't have the expertise. And there's not many companies that help firms to do that. But I think it's the biggest risk, because then you've got breaches. I mean, your clients trust you. And as soon as you breach that trust for something that you didn't actually do, I think it's wary. So I think for me, it's around review your internet, or more than your internet, review your infrastructure setup to make sure that you're covered, because they are coming and they're coming fast, and it's an easy way for them to make money.
Yeah.
We had a firm in Adelaide a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, got locked out of their own system for 3 weeks. And it was cyber criminals coming in, locked them out, and they thought they were backing up their system every day. So they want to grab the tape and they went to put it in. The IT company set them up into new infrastructure, said, we're not paying it, we'll just sit it on the side and we'll do your backup tapes. Guess what didn't work? Backup tapes. They hadn't worked for 3 months. So they were then in a predicament where they couldn't do the current work. They didn't have backup tapes. So it was like, you know, check your IT. That is, at the end of the day, that's our tools of trade. Our infrastructure of IT is so critical. So get it right and invest in it, because one cyber breach, you're done. Your business trust is gone.
Yeah, it's a very difficult situation, and there are solutions and people out there who can support you in this area, which fortunately, and specialise in the industry. So after the last few years of bruising, a number of people are saying that this is the year of saying no, it's the year of putting space in place, it's the year of putting boundaries in place. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes and no. I think we can't forget who we serve. Our customers pay our bills. We don't pay the bills. So I think that we need to always be, with everything in business, thinking about who we serve and how we can serve them at the highest level. Because ultimately they pay our bills. And without great customers, we don't have a business. But I think it's more about being prescriptive with how we run our business. Saying this is the type of client we want to deal with. We don't want to deal with everyone. We're very much in this niche. So I don't necessarily like the mantra of no. I like the mantra of how do we serve our ideal customer better by choosing to do the activities that we should do to serve them better.
Yeah.
And I think that the pandemic really exposed a lot of businesses for not having the right infrastructure to support their team members. And I think a lot of small firms that don't really have staff struggle because it's only them. So I think that, you know, there's only 2 options around that. You either suck it up and realise that this is how it is, I'm running a lifestyle business and I'm cool with that, but I'm going to set up my infrastructure by saying no. Or you go, no, I'm going to build a team so in the future I don't have to deal with that by myself again.
Yeah.
And you've got to make the conscious decision, because one's going to be better for you than the other, and there's no right or wrong answer. But I think you need to be very prescriptive. So if it is just you, you will literally be knocking back 99% of the clients that come to you, because you've only got so much capacity.
Yeah.
But the problem is that people don't say no. Oh yes, I can take your work on. I see another 20 grand of fees. as opposed to going, well, hang on, I don't even have time to do the work I've got now. I had a partner in New York last week who I was talking to when I was in America, and he said to me, Nick, he goes, I've got 9 partners bringing work to me and we keep saying no because we don't have any people to do the work, and I'm not going to burn my team and lose my team because we take on work that we don't have capacity to do. And that's hard when you're knocking back money. But you need to be able to say no where it's not appropriate.
Yeah.
But don't restrict your business because you haven't set it up properly is the other part of it.
So purposeful no and design the business or re-strategize around designing the business.
Is that how I was meant to answer it, like that quick as opposed to like in 3 minutes?
No, I was summing up what you'd said. Because you disagreed with what I'd initially run out with, so I was summing up with what you had said there. And look, I'm all for putting boundaries and space in place. And by having space in place, you actually have the time to think about what you're actually suggesting there, because people get on that treadmill and it just gets faster and faster and faster and faster, and they can't see the light. And
you can always fill time.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
You can always fill time.
And it's our most important and finite asset, and we give it away for free.
Yeah, and I think you need to value what's your time worth. And I think that's, for some people, it's different. So for some people, I travel for work every 2 weeks. So I don't see my family much, but I have 12 weeks of holidays condensed with them. That works for me, but for other people it wouldn't. So I think it's really valuing your time, but then going, stop saying yes to everything, look at saying no, but don't not say yes just because of that as well. Yeah.
So one of my favourite things in the industry, in the cloud industry, which is getting a lot more attention, is the increase in data analysis and business advisory and offering advisory services. And this is something that I've pushed for forever. But what are your thoughts on that?
I love data. Data doesn't lie. And I've been on that mantra for probably 15 years. So if you came into our business and saw the dashboards we run and we've got lead indicators, lag indicators, I think data, I'm looking at the roles that we've got in the business, and a lot more inquiries coming through now for data analysts and that type of role. So I think that the industry is going to naturally shift there because technology is going to automate a lot of things. It doesn't mean we're not needed, we're just needed in different ways. So I think, data and storytelling is going to be the skills of the future. And I think that's really where the accountant of the future will largely be in that area. Yeah. No, and I completely agree with that. And it's what story does the numbers tell? And we live in a country that's got a very rich history of storytelling, and we kind of need to sort of sit back and reflect back onto that. So we did well. We got 10 trends there. Are there any other trends that I didn't highlight there that you think people need to be aware of, think about, leverage? Not so much trends. I think it's how do you build communities with your clients? Because I think that as an industry, we're really good at building connections within the industry, and I think the pandemic really showed how strong the community is because everyone helped everyone get through it. But the one thing that I think almost needs to shift is how do we build that same depth with our clients, and how do we do it in different ways? So I think that, not necessarily a trend, but I think a trend will be in the future is that you're going to have to focus on your customer more. Yeah. I don't think firms, and I read a lot online, I know a lot of it's venting, so I don't take it as always the right thing, but I don't think firms in a lot of ways have the clear focus on their customer. We build a process for our benefit, not for the customer. Yeah. It's like, no, how do we make the experience and the journey of the customer better? So I think that we're going to have to focus more on our customer because the access to, or the barriers to get into accounting are getting lessened. So there will be more competition in the future. People will want to start their own firms. So if we're not focused on the people we need to be focused on, someone else will come and give them a better price and a better service, and you'll lose them.
So if I'm interested in building, I've got a niche business that's focused on tradies. If I build a community around them, aren't they then stressed that they're in this community with their competitors?
We only deal with accounting firms. And I mean, you look at how strong the accounting industry is in supporting each other. The trades in that, I don't think they would be any different because they can't deal with everything too. They need to refer on.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's actually any different, but you don't necessarily have to run in-person events all the time.
No.
It could be, how can you serve them better? I know Mark's sitting right there. He ran an event a couple of weeks ago, a 2-day event, basically coaching them how to run a business. Like, that is, for me, is what we need to be doing, because it's so much value, as opposed to, here's your tax returns, good job, pay some tax, or you get a refund because you didn't make any money. So it's really around, how do we add more value and bring the community together and the connection that way?
Yeah. Good point. That's quite insightful. So there we hit 11 potential trends for 2023 that people can leverage. So you also, maybe you can share with us some news. You've had conference news announced recently. Can you share with us
what news am I sharing?
Is that not?
Yes, no, we've launched our conference at the end of the year, TOACon. Last year we held it on the beautiful Boracay Island in the Philippines. This year we're holding it, our 10th anniversary this year. So 10 years TOA's been going, so we're holding it on the Gold Coast where the business all started. The wonderful thing about our events is, and I love these types of events like Accountex, but our event is 100% focused on how do we make you a better individual and a better business owner. So none of our speakers are industry related. They are all basically 2 days of keynotes, and you don't know who's speaking when. You know who's speaking, but you don't know when they're on. So it's a great event. Boracay last year was amazing, and we just continue to try and lift the bar, but it's an event about you. It's about how do we make you a better version of yourself, which will make your business a better version as well.
Excellent. So thank you so much for joining me in the Go Cardless Accountex Buzz Lab and on the Cloud Stories podcast. How can people find out more about TOACon, TOA Global, the Institute, the AB² Institute, and how can they connect with you?
Easiest way to connect with me is on LinkedIn, so just Nick Sinclair. They can go to toaglobal.com, they can go to ab2institute.com.au, or find me on socials. I'm pretty much everywhere, and TOACon and the info's on our website.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for being on the show, Nick.
Thanks for having me again, Heather.